In this session, using Zabbix tool to monitor the different servers. Well, Zabbix comprises of the Zabbix server and Zabbix agent. So we'll be requiring one Zabbix server machine, a new machine on which we'll be installing a Zabbix server, and the machine which we want to monitor, we need to install a Zabbix agent onto it. So we'll be going to monitor the application server, its CPU, its memory, and the other stuffs. So let's launch one EC2 machine for Zabbix server. So we are in this EC2 console. Let's launch one new machine. We'll be going for the same one, 18.04 Ubuntu. Just go with the free tier, 1 GB of RAM. Let's say the storage is 10 GB. Well, you can also go for the default one, that is 8 GB. Let's add some tags. I'll say like name, Zabbix server. Let's configure the security groups. Here we need the port 80 to get open because Zabbix has a front-end UI and Apache 2 is used to access the Zabbix server. So let's add HTTP, this port 80 anywhere, and we'll add another custom TCP rule that is for port 151. It's the port on which Zabbix server listens. Let's say it for anywhere. Let's add another port 1050, that's for Zabbix agent. Okay, let's review and launch using the same key. So it's done now. Let's wait till the server gets in running state. So we have this public IP. Let's open one session in MovaXterm. SSH DevOps. Okay, the username will be the same, Ubuntu. Before starting anything, don't forget to update the repositories. Sudo apt update. This will hardly take a minute. So for Zabbix agent, we'll actually require a LAMP stack. We need Apache, MySQL as a database, and a PHP. So we'll be installing all the components. Let this update get complete. This update usually take a lot of time when we initially start a machine. So it's done. Now we'll be going to install Apache 2, then libapache 2 -mod -php. It's just like we are installing for PHP. In the next step, we'll be installing MySQL server. Okay, it is done. Now installing MySQL server, sudo apt get install MySQL server. If you already have a LAMP stack configure and you have some other way to configure LAMP stack, you can proceed with that and you can skip this part, and then you'll be going directly to install the Zabbix server because LAMP stack is mainly required for installing of Zabbix server. It is also complete, almost complete. In the next step, we'll be installing the last components, the PHP and the related packages for LDAP, MySQL, the XML, and all those things associated with PHP. Sudo apt get install. The first one is PHP. Then I'll be requiring PHP MB string, PHP GD, PHP XML, PHP BC Math, PHP LDAP, and PHP MySQL. After this, we need to update the time zone as well in PHP configuration file. So in whatever time zone you are, you need to update that. For that, let me just go to /etc, the PHP directory. The PHP version is 7.2 that we have installed, then Apache 2, and then php.ini. Here you'll directly search for date, and we have date here. So we need to define the date here, or we can simply use this one. Just uncomment this date.timezone, and we need to specify the time zone. I'll just mention mine, Asia/Kolkata. You can specify the time zone of your area. That's it. Just save the file. So we have installed the LAMP stack. Now we'll be requiring the apt repository for Zabbix server. So till now we have configured the time zone. Now we need to enable the required apt repository. I have created one file to have all these commands in step. Let me just download this Debian package for Zabbix. It's done. Then simply I need to just dpkg it, unpack this Debian package. It's all done. When it's done, I need to just sudo apt get update. I need to update the repositories. Once it's done, I just need to install all these things that I have acquired from this repository. Just allow it. It will again take a minute to install. In the next section, we'll be creating a database schema because we are using MySQL. Just switch to root. Okay, also MySQL -u root -p. Just enter the password. So we are in this MySQL server. Here we need to create one database, Zabbix DB. Then we'll be creating a user Zabbix with that is identifiable by a password, and we'll be granting the privileges over this Zabbix DB. I have just configured all the steps here. Creating database Zabbix DB. Just paste it. It's done. Then I'll be creating a Zabbix user, which is identify a password. You can change the password as per your requirement. Then granting all the privileges and then flushing the privilege. So till now it's done. Let me just exit out of this. Then we'll be loading this database schema to the database created above. I'll go to usr share doc, then Zabbix server MySQL. Okay, here I need to run this command zcat. It's just loading the schema in the DB created above. Just enter the password that I used. Let me just enter the password again. Okay, so it's now accepted. After that, we'll be editing the Zabbix configuration file. Okay, it's in /etc Zabbix, and just open it, Zabbix server.conf. Here we need to make sure the 4 entries should be there. One is DB host. I'll say like, let's search for it. It should be like DB host. So we have the DB host value. Let's make it as a local host. Another thing is DB name. So the DB that we have created is Zabbix DB. Then for the DB user, I'll again search DB user. So it's Zabbix, that's fine. And for DB password, DB. Okay, so I need to mention this DB password as well. Just uncomment this line. So the password is what we configured while creating the DB. Let's save the file. So till here we have configured everything. Now we need to restart the Apache service, Apache 2 restart. It's done. Then we'll be going to restart the Zabbix server. Done till here. I guess everything is fine now. We have configured everything. We'll pick up the public IP of this Zabbix server and we'll try to open the front end of Zabbix. So this is the public IP. Let me hit it here as /Zabbix. So here the page is opening. So initially we need to complete the setup. Let's click on next. Again next. Here I need to mention like the DB name, it's Zabbix DB, while the user is fine Zabbix, and I need to enter the database password. It's the same password that we created there. Next step, I need to enter the name. I'll say like Zabbix server, and it's actually running on 1051 port. That's why I asked you to open the port 1051 in the security groups. So it's done. For the first time, I'll say like the default username and password is admin, It's capital ADMIN, and the password is Zabbix only in small caps. So this is the actual Zabbix homepage that we have configured till now, and you can see a Zabbix server host is here. It's like it's showing the values for this own Zabbix server. So in the next section, we'll be configuring the Zabbix agent on the app server, and we'll create a template to monitor the CPU and memory values for the application server.